Okay, guys, what is up? Welcome back to Rich Artist Fridays. My name is Sophie. I'm the founder of the Rich Artist Friday program and the Rich Artist program, where we break the stigma of the starving artist lifestyle and we counteract gatekeeping in the commercial photo industry. If you're here, most likely you're a freelance photographer yourself or you're aspiring to be. And I started this program exactly a year ago with the intention of giving you guys a place that you can come back to every single week, get new inspiration, have an exchange, and also to have somebody that has done commercial photo shoots and just sort of give you guys access to everything it took to get to that point. Because when I think back a couple years ago, when I was interning and assisting and doing my own photography on the side, or even when I was in college for photography, there was so much mysticism around how I could get to have the career that I wanted. And I wish somebody would have sort of sat me down and just laid it all out for me and been like, here's the deal, here's how you do this, here's how you make this work for yourself, or here's what worked for me. I mean, we all know that there's no like cookie cutter solution or like one way fits all in order to have the career that you want. Sorry guys, I'm lagging a little bit. Everything's going on today. Guys, we just had an earthquake in New York City. Like, kid you not, 5 minutes ago, the entire building shook. So I'm a little shook. Also, it's our 1 year anniversary, so it's a big. But then I didn't have time to get one, so just picture, confetti streamers and everything in the background. But we've been doing this for a whole year. That's so crazy to me, and I want to thank you guys, literally from the bottom of my heart, for showing up a week, or even if it's your first time. Thank you for having an exchange with me and with one another. When I decided to do this, you guys are the reason I come back every single week. When I decided to do this is exactly what I was picturing, was just having the exchange with people that are just as passionate about the same thing that has literally ruled my life for my entire life, and that I've decided to build my career around and dedicate my life to. I see you guys, I see your talent, and I want you guys to be successful at this. And I'm not just talking like monetary. I know this is called Rich Artist Friday, but I'm talking in every single way possible that I can help you guys. And I have had so many people helping me. I've hired my own business coaches, I've had agents, I've had assistants, I've had mentors, I've had so many people help me to get to this point, and I'm just starting out, so I'm gonna keep showing up here for you guys, and thank you for taking it, and welcome to the 1 year anniversary party of Rich Artist Fridays. Hi to everybody in the Instagram live as well. And today we're going to do portfolio reviews. I'm so excited. This is our second time doing portfolio reviews. Just a little context about the program. Every Friday is our 30-minute free quickies, so that I can just show up, talk about whatever is on my mind, things that I have recently learned, or things that you guys ask me to talk about, because collectively I see there's like common ground with certain topics that everybody's like trying to figure out, myself included. So yeah, that's what we do. And then we also do group coachings. We've done sort of like weekend workshops that are like 2 or 3 days long around one specific topic, where you get like just the most input that I can give you on a topic. Our biggest program is the 8-week program that we've done twice now. We're doing it again this summer, so if you're interested in that, look on my website. There's a tab there called Learn, and you can read more. And you can read more about the program. It's sort of like the 8 most important pillars that I've built my career on. And then we recently did a masterclass within the Rich Artist Fridays, which was 4 weeks dedicated to the same topic. I think we're definitely going to do that again in year 2, because that was really cool to like get to lay the groundwork for one topic specifically that I knew everybody wanted to have more than just 1 week input on. And hi to everybody in the Zoom live. Thank you for joining me. Alexander, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. I actually have a little question for you, because one of the people that got chosen in the portfolio raffle didn't show up. And if you want, I'd like to offer you the other spot for portfolio review. If you want, I can just look at your website or your Instagram. You can write your answer in the chat, but no pressure. Otherwise, we'll just do Greta today.
Yeah, you can definitely take a look.
That's all I have to say.
Can you hear me? No, I was saying, yeah, I would love for you to take take a look.
I would love for you to take a look.
Okay, maybe, yeah, I would love to. Maybe we'll do Greta's first. I have a PDF for her, and then if you just want to send me a link to whatever you want me to review, if you have a PDF, you can send it to me, or I can just take a look at your website too.
Just take a look at the website, please. Hold on. I'll get just it. Take a look at the website, please.
Okay, will you send me, yeah, send me a link in the chat so I can just click on it.
No problem.
Okay, perfect. And for everybody that's joining us in the Instagram live, obviously you won't be able to see what I'm looking at. But I'm recording the session, so I'll upload it to the YouTube. So obviously you can still listen in. I think some of the feedback I get, you know, you don't really need a visual reference for it, but if you want to see what we were looking at, then just look at the YouTube recording and like at least type something when I upload it. And yeah, oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, perfect. I got it.
Congratulations, by the way.
So I haven't looked at this yet, even though I was very tempted yesterday when Greta sent me the PDF, but I wanted you to get my initial reaction. I have taken one peek at your Instagram and now I've seen it. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
It is start, yeah. It is start, yeah.
Okay. We're still struggling. We're still on the struggle bus. You know, we're 1 year in, but there's, you know, it's a learning curve. Okay. Oh, cool. I like this cover page.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, what is happening to my computer right now? Okay. Ooh. Oh, I'll go back. Balenciaga.
It was actually shooting that I did for.
Is that the brand?
It was not it was not for the brand directly, so it was for actually a person that needed to do Balenciaga kind of mood for pictures. So we actually went and shoot in a museum in Paris, and I didn't want it to call it Balenciaga, so I actually take it and create a Balenciaga.
So that was, but that was the inspo. I see the inspo for sure. Okay.
That was, yeah.
First thought, I don't know how I feel about the text on the images. I think with our photography, I say this all the time, our photographs are our product. Like they're our golden ticket. They're our like, they're the sculpture you put in the middle of the room, right? So anything we can do to highlight like how valuable each image is, the better. And the text on the image, to me, it sort of takes away from your presentation of the image. Like, I understand like if this were a campaign something, there might actually be graphics on it. But I don't think it would just be sort of like stuck in the corner. That's just my, and honestly, guys, everything I say, take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, I'm just one person. This is one person's opinion, but I'm just going to give you my initial thoughts.
Of course.
Okay, very cool. Oh, I like that one. Okay, is this whole portfolio, is this whole PDF the same shoot?
No, not really. Now normally it would start to change starting from the next one. Yeah.
I love this one, and that one is super cool too. Oh, this one's a new one. Let's see.
Yeah, so basically it is actually the first time that I build a portfolio. So I know that normally I'm actually, it has been a couple of years now that I'm actually taking photographs, but now in this last years, I'm actually realizing that I would like to do fashion, but at the same time, I've been working in documentary. I've been doing documentary photography. I've been practicing many styles actually. So when I had to create my portfolio, I actually put everything in the same portfolio, even though I know it's not actually the way you should present it. I'm not actually quite sure on how it's.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing you have 27 slides. Okay, well, I guess it's good because then I get to see a lot of your work. If you're doing PDF, like PDF portfolios, I would say like 15 is your absolute max. It really depends on what the portfolio is for. You know, if you're doing, let's say you're doing direct outreach to brands you want to work with, and you have a PDF that's just your fashion work because you're directly emailing fashion brands, 10 to 15 images of your strongest ones, and I would not put more than 2 images per project in there, and just choose the 2 strongest images. We all know that no matter how large your series is or how good you are, there's always going to be a couple of standout ones, and less is definitely more. Like with this series, the first one here that I was just looking at, like this one and this one are the 2 strongest ones, and then everything else is just, even though it's just marginally less quality, like, and this is obviously my opinion, but like there is some standout ones, and then all the ones that are just like marginally less attractive just end up hurting you, you know. And I say this about websites all the time too. Like we have our darlings, we need to like kill our darlings because we have these certain types of images that we look at and we see something that we're obsessed with, a certain detail, but maybe it doesn't translate to as many people as these other 2 images that would like speak to a larger crowd. Okay, let's just go through it. I love that one. Okay, so this is Louis Vuitton at Paris Fashion Week.
It's an awesome one.
Thank you.
Love these. That's so cool. Okay. What I like about these ones, it feels very like conceptual. These ones feel a little more documentary because I can tell that you're at the event, and unless you're an event photographer, I wouldn't include this in a fashion portfolio. This one you can, because it looks like it could have been like a shoot that you did for them. And always fake it till you make it a little bit. Always pretend like you got hired by whatever the brand is, you know, to be there and to like conceptually do an editorial or advertorial shoot for them or something like that. Even if you didn't, even if you were there for the event, you know?
Definitely. No, you're right.
YSL. Okay, cool. I think your colors can definitely use a little bit of work. Like, I think this one could just be a little bit more, have a little bit more oomph. Like, obviously there's an aesthetic to each photographer. Like this one, I like the desaturation. This one, I think one of the funnest elements is the colors of it and like the neon. So I personally wish there was a little bit more vibrancy to it. I think that's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, again, I would just reduce that down. But I like the technical concept of it. That's cool. I also wish, like, if this were a true fashion campaign, it's shot well in the way that you managed to get the subject to be like in focus and then everything blurred in the background. If it were a true fashion campaign for this brand, I wish the clothing was lit a little bit better. Because if this were for the brand, like I can't see anything about these pants. Like I don't know if I want to buy these pants because I can't see them. You know what I mean? This is cool because you're highlighting the silhouette of their design. Like that makes sense. But again, like I think there is a certain nuance to photographing fashion to what degree you can see into the shadows, especially on dark clothing. And that doesn't mean that your image can't have an overall dark aesthetic, but I think specifically for clothing, and like this is a very technical feedback, but if it were for fashion, it would be a little bit lit differently, or obviously if you're just using the available light there to you, it would be edited a little bit more so that I can see into the shadows of the clothes, just like a minor detail. And then also with cropping, I'm noticing that you have these very stark horizontal lines, but your horizontal line, your horizon line is all over the place. And like if you just went in and you crop them all to have the horizon line at exactly the same level, and also some of them are a little bit wonky, it like makes it look a lot cleaner, a lot more like what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more like intentional.
Yeah.
Like here, for example, like I don't really need to see that much of the floor. I did a Rich Artist Friday about how to crop your images in a commercially viable way, because the way that you frame a product, which in this case is the clothes, makes a campaign automatic, or makes a photo read automatically either like amateur or editorial versus like campaign. There's a very specific way of like how much context you give around the product that you're trying to sell in an image, and the way you frame it makes a world of a difference of how it reads in terms of like if you were sending this to a client. It's super fascinating, and I feel like nobody ever talks about it, but it's like one of the fastest and simplest ways that you can take your images to where it actually looks like it was a campaign.
You're right.
Melanie is angry. Okay. I don't, so you said you're definitely interested in getting into fashion, right? Are you interested in doing beauty as well, or you want to steer more in the like conceptual, editorial, advertorial?
I think beauty as well would, I mean, what the beauty universe, so fashion and beauty,
They obviously overlap for sure.
Yeah.
Like
So
there's a strong element of beauty in most fashion stuff as well. I'm asking because even if this was a fashion campaign, I mean, again, it's hard to see the fashion, but like some fashion campaigns these days are shot very fine art, very conceptual. Like this could be a campaign. But then if you have an image like this, it would still be taken to a level of like beauty retouching, like for example, her nose hair and just a little bit of like the texture of the skin. These little details, like I understand this is very like raw, palpable in the way that it's shot. And like we love imperfections. There's just a certain degree of like how you could clean this up a little bit that would make it look like your production value was a lot higher, like as if you had a professional retoucher involved, or you know, like there was a lot more people in your team than who was actually there. And same with skin here a little bit. Like we're not trying to create something that is unobtainable, or like make them look like porcelain dolls or something like that, but there's always a certain degree of beauty retouching even in fashion photography that will make it read higher production value, which is good because if it, you know, that's just the degree to which you edit your images. And that's so cool because you can influence that. Like a lot of the shoots that I do just for my portfolio, like oftentimes it's literally just me and the model in the studio. Maybe it's just window light, but the way that I go in and I edit it makes it look like it could have been a campaign. It makes it look like it was sort of produced to the degree where like you could slap a brand on it and everybody would believe it. Like I think that's what ended up landing me some of my first commercial work, was that I took my personal work to that degree of perfectionism, obviously with the perfect imperfection. Like we want imperfections because they're enticing, but you want like just the right amount, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that's so fun to start playing around with, because it puts you back in control of like how you present yourself and your skill level and what sort of clients you then allow yourself to approach as well. Same here. I think it could just use a little bit of beauty retouching, and then also color wise, like I know this image has an aesthetic on it, but her, like especially in some areas, her skin is reading super yellow. Skin tones is something I'm such a stickler for. And then cleaning up the lip line. Like you have very few beauty elements here. The hair, I think, looks great. I love that I can tell that there's a little bit of intentional styling in the hair. And then the only other real beauty element you have is the red lipstick. So you want the red lipstick to be perfect.
Yeah, perfect. You're right. Yeah.
I also think, I mean, this is so annoying. I love 4x5 crops because I'm getting Amber Alert for earthquakes, guys.
Wow. Oh, good.
Buddy, that's not in the US. That's what our phones do when you're on an American phone plan. And there's like flood warnings. I've never got one for an earth. I'm sweating, you guys.
Don't worry. You tell us, huh?
If I start going like this,
Oh,
I'll help.
unusual. Hopefully it's
Um,
dangerous. I mean,
obviously this is just a taste thing. I started cropping all of my images in 4x5. I've said this before. When I started interning for photographers that were shooting like $100,000 worth of campaign, I noticed that a lot of them love a 4x5 crop. And this is just a theory I have, but I think it's because back when everything was analog, if you shot 35 millimeter versus medium format, a lot of the common medium format is 4x5, right? And 4x5 reads as more expensive than 35 millimeter. So now that everything's digital, I think that that ratio is still preferred because it makes an image read a little more expensive. Like, feel free to like tell me to go to fuck off, you know, because it's your preference. But I see a lot of like negative space that I think is sort of unnecessary. Like, I don't need to see any of this up here. Like, what I want to see is her face. I want to see all the beautiful details in the image. I love that there's like a little bit of a star haze thing happening in the eyes and stuff like that. So my initial reaction is I just want it a little bit more. Just give me a little bit more. Like, just fill the frame with the good stuff, not with the negative space. Like, negative space can be very intentional, and if you're doing a campaign, you work with a lot of negative space to like highlight the graphics, not just the person in the picture. But if it's just a portrait or it's a beauty shot, like, give me a little bit more. Like,
yeah,
want to be a little bit closer. Okay. Ooh, I love that one. Very cool. Nice, nice, nice. I'm not gonna go into details about everything. This is cool too. Like, this is a lot of this is very fine art, which is really cool. I think it's just about like picking and choosing what will actually help you depending on like what you're after. Like, obviously you can just present your work as an artist, and you should like put a page of this on your website, or you know, show all of this stuff on your social media. Like, people should see this work or do gallery exhibitions. But when you're doing a portfolio, for example, that you're going to approach clients with, this isn't going to land you any commercial clients, because they're going to be like, where do I place my product? I mean, like, maybe you can, and there is definitely like fine art style photographers that do commercial work, but you need to show clients that this is what they should want, or this is what you can do for them. Like, one of the smartest things that you can do every once in a while with a personal project, shoot it in a way as if it were for a client, because it teaches you how to highlight an actual product. And I know this is so annoying because all we want to do is create art, but ultimately at the end of the day, if you want to do commercial work, you have to show that you know how to highlight how to sell the product, which is, and you can still do it in an artistic way, you know, but you need to sort of, clients will buy what you're already being hired for. Even if you're not being hired for it yet, like, you have to show that they can hire you for a certain type of photography, but do it in your own style, obviously. Okay.
Oh, well,
Same
that's
for the book, yeah. But that's cool. I like seeing that. Okay, so cool. I love your graphics. Graphics, I think people sleep on graphics all the time. Like, we had to do a little bit of graphic design in college, and I'm so glad we did, because I see so many amazing photography portfolios, but then the text and the layout and the formatting is so horrible, and you're literally shooting yourself in the leg, because you want to show that you have good taste and that you know what design and style is if you're going to try to get hired for like fashion or beauty stuff, you know? So it's an easy mistake to make, is to sleep on your graphics.
It is important. That's right.
Hey, cool. Do you have any questions for me?
Well, first of all, thank you, because I mean, even though it's quick and we actually speak fast about it, I think that you gave me some good insights that I haven't thought necessarily about. And yeah, so no specific questions for the moment, but I will definitely rethink the way I'm actually presenting my work for the moment. So yeah, one question, yeah, now that it's come into my mind, for example, if I want to I'm actually preparing a work and I want to present it to, let's say, fashion magazine. I do still life and I do also portraits and some editorials. But the magazine is actually looking for someone who does just, let's say, portraits of, let's say, just portraits. Do I put in my portfolio the three of them, or do I actually prepare a portfolio which is for that client? Or do you know what I mean? Like, do I need to be specific when I go to a specific client? Or it might be a silly question, I don't know if you get what I meant.
Yeah, like, do you show a range of versatility, or do you
Yeah.
like always target as much as you can? Obviously, that's hard because sometimes we have to play a numbers game when it comes to outreach. But if you can, and if you have the capacity, be as targeted as possible. Like, send a client or a publication what you think they would want to see. Because at the end of the day, we all want to work with experts in their field. Like, if I'm a magazine or if I'm a client, I want to hire the photographer that has an entire portfolio of the exact stuff that I would want to work with them for, rather than seeing that you have skill in a lot of different areas that don't really interest me, you know? And you, like I said, you have to sort of show client that they should want you. So set yourself up in the best way and like be really, really targeted, like especially when it comes to like client outreach or magazine outreach. I always say, like, just show them what they want to see and nothing else, because everything else is just has potential to hurt you or to just distract them. And I try to like do their job for them. So like, rather than just sending a link to my website, I will make a dedicated portfolio, and then in my follow-up, like a week and a half later, I will send them a specific project and be like, I saw you guys just released this and this editorial in your last issue, or I loved this collab you did with this artist, or I loved your last campaign, or I'm loving the visuals for your last social campaign, or whatever. I just worked on this, which very much reminded me of what you guys are doing, and I think we are in good alignment for that. So just like show them that you're targeting them, even though they all like, we all know that you're not just targeting them, you're targeting other people too, but makes them feel special. Like, and like, you know, when somebody's like, I want you, eventually it'll make you pay a little bit more attention than somebody that it just feels like, you know, we're all trying to get opportunities left and right, like, obviously, but they don't need to know that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, it's okay, thank you so much.
Of course. You're like, oh God, I'm gonna have to make so many portfolios.
No, actually, it's really good because in this very moment, I'm actually thinking that I mean, I feel that I have potential and I have a lot of things that I need to build, and I need to actually build my line of what I really want and what I want to show of my style and which kind of client I want to reach actually. So it's I'm you know, I'm starting to build something, and yeah, let's see how it goes the next
and
month.
all the things that you're passionate about, you know, commercial clients are also means to an end. They're also just the resource for you to be the artist that you already are. Nobody's asking you to squeeze yourself into a niche just so that you can earn a living. Like, you need to stay true to who you are in your aesthetic and the stuff that interests you, because if you lose sight of that, it's not going to be sustainable and you're not going to be innovative and creative. And at the end of the day, we want to be artists that get hired. Like, we want to be working artists. So you have to strike the balance. And that just takes a little bit of trial and error. Like, I've definitely done campaigns that I didn't really feel like I identified with, but it like kept me paying my rent. And then, you know, I also could use that to attract other commercial clients down the line that were a lot more aligned with the stuff that I do in my own portfolio. And you do have to have a strong personal portfolio, because these clients that are not just hiring service providers, they do ideally, hopefully, want to bring a creative into the team whose voice and opinions and insight and perspective is valued. So, it's not dumb of you to be like, what kind of clients do I actually want to work with? It's good for you to visualize first, because then it becomes a little bit easier to like target and attract that in the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thank you so much. Okay. Next. Alexander. Okay, which one shall I go to first?
Go to G Specs because that's the actual fashion facing one. That's luxury street fashion. I'm actually that end user buyer that you guys are talking about, because I have a fashion line and a aerospace company. These
Cool.
they're pretty much well, the fashion line's been around probably for about 2 years. We've been kind of running in stealth, but also like just selling word of mouth. And then the aerospace company is relatively new, and I slapped that site together from like, the GoDaddy editor. So I don't have an artistic background. I'm just a professional appreciator. I love photography and art in general. Since I'm kind of sitting in niche, I would love to, see what you guys think of, the two different, kind of efforts, beginner efforts that.
Okay, so this is not your photography?
No, this is all publicly available or stuff that I, paid for.
Gotcha. And you want a photographer's perspective
Yes, please.
on your visuals?
Yes.
You got it. Okay.
Yeah, just rip it apart. And, I'm also here to meet people that can probably do way better and make it look really good. So that could be cool.
That's very smart of you. We're here to be of use and a resource to you. So here we go. Okay, cool. So handmade luxury sneakers, Soho, New York. You are where I am. Where did you get these visuals from? Like this here?
I have to ask my business partner where he actually found the this specific visual, but if it's right, we definitely paid for it. So
Good. That was right.
I deal with a lot of IP on my other business too. So like, I like to make sure that this doesn't crop up 3 to 5 years later when this is an explosive hit and get, very
Yes, and you
expensive.
guys are the new Puma.
Yes, absolutely. And Adidas, they're all having hard times about their supply chains. We're actually way more ethical. My business partner is from Bangladesh. We have the factories over there. And kind of, we're at a price point where we can actually make a huge impact on the community. We haven't put that up on the page because we want the product to speak for itself, but.
Okay. And who's doing your product photography?
He is actually with with his iPhone at this point.
Okay. Are these color matched to your product? That's my first question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. Because they're looking a little muted in color, but I don't know if that's what the product actually looks like.
Right now it is. I've been talking to him about, maybe something that pops a little bit more.
This is a photo?
Yes.
Is this your final it looks almost like AI generate, like these shoelaces don't even look like their actual material. Or is that just the quality of the image?
That's just the quality of the image.
Okay, that's really interesting because like your stitching is like all over the place here and it almost looks like.
Yeah, it's a felt prototype.
Okay, I see that. Okay.
We might. I'll talk to him. We probably need to do put something out because we've produced about 200 pairs of them. So maybe it's time to update the pictures on the website to something that looks a little bit more finished.
Well, the one thing that I always try to explain to clients is
Mhm.
that the visuals of your product directly correlate to the value that is assumed by the customer, right? So even though if you don't have a trained photography eye, we all can differentiate between high quality images and not high quality images. Like I could show a complete amateur 2 images and they would tell me which one they prefer. They might not be able to tell me why, but we all know, like our brain knows. I
Yeah.
can sit here and tell you, okay, I don't like that the way that the product is cropped out from the white background is
Mhm.
not very well done. Like I can tell it's just sort of choppy as if I've like cropped it out with scissors. I wish there was a shadow underneath the product which would ground the product because right now there's no weight to it. And we all want our products to not feel like cardboard, right? Even
Right.
though this might be a prototype, but like even if you want to have a completely white background, which for e-commerce a lot of people do,
Yeah.
having a little bit of grounding shadow in the product shot, like it grounds the product. Um, I, the way that your customers view your product, unfortunately and ultimately, is the value that it'll have in their mind. So you can have the best product in the world, but if it doesn't look well produced, then it's hard to trust the product and it's hard for you to build a customer base that is going to be loyal and build a lasting relationship to you, because what you want is not a one-time customer, you want a returning customer. And having high production value imagery, like for example, sending your prototypes into you can send your product into e-commerce asset studios. Like they have it all set up. It's so easy. They just pop it on there. They have the camera all set up. They shoot it twice. They light it from the back so that it's super easy to have the background be separate from the product that's being shot. And then that's so much easier to manipulate it in post-production. Um, it it is an investment. High quality photography is always an upfront investment, but we all know that visuals carry a narrative. Like before anybody reads anything about what your company is about,
Oh yeah.
or before they even think about whether they are genuinely interested in the product, whether the visual speaks to them, it makes or breaks your company. The first thing that I noticed when I went on here is that like I don't like this. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like it. Like at least you have a little bit of a shadow here, but I can tell that this isn't like I'm confused by it. I think the perspective of this stock image that you have here, it's pixelated, which makes me like is a little bit unfortunate because every little detail of quality that isn't quite where it could be, like emotionally takes you losing points to the customer, right? Like
Okay.
this perspective is weird of this like fake frame. Like I can tell this is not the frame that was on the image. It was just sort of like cropped together, like it was just sort of put together. And I mean, like I'm just here to like look at the photography, right? But I also think that your graphics could use a little bit of work, like in order to read a little bit more high end, because I'm assuming you have a very high end product. So
Yes.
everything that I'm looking at visually needs to scream high quality. I think it would be super cool to start seeing, like, I think this is cool because I can tell that it was like a conceptual product shot. It
Mhm.
gives context about what emotions I should be feeling towards your product. Obviously, e-commerce is a very practical type of photography because I just need to see all the details of the product in order to decide if I want to purchase it without being able to like have it in my hand and see it in front of me. So you
Mhm.
just need it to be crisp and clean and reflective of the product. And then you have conceptualized imagery, which is more about like what sort of association should I have with your product? And that's where us creatives come in, because that's what we specialize in. Um, yeah, I think in any area of photography that you need, it is always an upfront investment. And no matter what sort of company I'm working with, and no matter whether they're like a startup or they're already $1 billion brand, every
Mhm.
brand is always trying to level up, right? Because the idea is to grow and to sell more product. Like I want you guys to sell more product. That is my number one goal of working with you guys as a company. And the way you do that is to look at what is your visual what are your visual assets communicating right now? What do you want them to communicate? Like, what sort of brands do you want to be rivaling? And what sort of production value is that company at? If you guys want to rival Adidas or Nike, yes, their products are amazing, but they also have a budget of like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, I've been on the Adidas sets before as an assistant, you know, like they invest a lot in the visuals. So it's always going to be an upfront investment, because if you can get, like, Zara, for example, Zara products are not exactly high in quality,
Yeah,
but
but the
they are
campaign.
shot at the absolute height of conceptual and editorial style advertising campaigns. They can take a tube sock and make it look like it belongs in Vogue, which ensures that the customer knows what to associate with the brand, and it makes them want to partake in this narrative. So you need to create a visual narrative that is enticing to your customers. And sneakers are so cool. There's so much you can do, you know? So how is that in terms of feedback?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. I can take that back to, you know, my business partners, so we can, you know, kind of start talking and thinking in that direction. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. It was really fun for me to to start learning that. I think for a lot of us commercial photographers, it is kind of a no-brainer. Like, we look at imagery day in, day out. We distinguish between what's good, what's not. We're constantly critically looking at our own work, trying to find the little details that can still be improved upon. But then when it comes to working with our customers, and Greta, maybe this is interesting for you as well, when it comes to us actually approaching brands to want to work with, it's interesting that sometimes we have to play that role of somebody that can bridge that gap of like what we understand how to do best, and speaking our customers' language of like, okay, what's actually important to you though? Like, obviously you want nice photos and you're coming to me as the creative to help you produce these photos because I have the technical skill and the creative knowledge to know how to do that. But if I learn how to speak your language in terms of like, why should you care? Or why is it of your best interest to give me the financial resources, like when we're talking about a business deal, that I know I need in order to create the best high quality product. My product is the photo, in order to set your company up for success. So it's important for me to have a conversation with you to understand, where do you want your, like, how do you want your company and your product to be viewed? What is the reaction that you want your customers to have in association to your product and the company? And that's where the fun comes in, because this is what we specialize in, you know? Like, I work with a lot of diversity-based brands, for example. So I'm like, okay, how do you want your customer to feel when they see some, you know, a body positivity advocate in your new swimwear line or something like that? Like, what is the message that we're sending here? And how can I use my visual technical skills in order to underline all of your goals? And that's where we meet in the middle. And that is how you become, you know, that's how you empower yourself in your photography business, and you step out of just, I'm talking more to my photographers now, you know, that's where you step out of just your creative artistic role and you become an entrepreneur. And I know that that step is something that we don't get taught ever. I hired my own business coach to help me understand this, to start understanding marketing and also like sales conversations, because I could not identify with that in any way, shape, or form. And even to the contrary, I know a lot of artists feel like if they start thinking in these terms, that it sort of contradicts who we are as creatives. I'm here to sort of teach you guys that the opposite is true. Is if you can empower yourself in bridging that gap between the commercial brands that are going to give you the resources to grow as an artist, and also buy yourself free time and flexibility and spontaneity to preserve your creativity, that is how you build a sustainable career as a photographer. And you have to learn how to do this. And it's such a shame that a lot of us artists never even get close to being taught about this, because that's how we run ourselves into the ground. You know, that's where that like starving artist stigma comes from, because we always think if we're only good enough artists, then the money will come, the business will come, the jobs will come. And like, yeah, maybe that's sometimes the case for like a very selective handful of people, of artists that are so unique that like nobody in the world can rival them, and then the business builds around them through agents and managers and all of that. But don't go around thinking that these people aren't good at business. They absolutely are, or at least they learn how to, you know? And you can too. And if you can, that's what sets you up to make the best art that you possibly can. And art is important. Like, without art, societies wither and die. It's important. And you can have commercial ambiguity. You can work in a capitalistic industry and still align with brands that have cool missions like yours, that want to make an amazing product accessible to their customers, because you know that there's people out there that would love to have the product, and you can be part of that project and that journey for brands. It's actually very fulfilling. It can be very fulfilling, and it helps you grow as an artist as well by stepping out of your comfort zone of just the creative process and seeing what your creative process looks like in a bigger setting, when there's more people involved, also when there's like brands involved. Like, I learned so much about the way companies are set up and about company ethics and the way that creative teams uh, navigate and sort of move within a corporate setting, versus me being over here like the little single freelancer that's, you know, just in front of my computer every single day by myself. It's so cool to get to step into that context sometimes and meet the people and interact with them. It's so enriching. And I know that there's so many photographers out there that want to make those, like, I want you guys to make those experiences, because it's really fun. And it actually pays money that you can live off of. And like, there's nothing wrong with, you know, making a living in whatever way you figure that out for yourself in order to still be able to make your art. But I know a lot of artists, like, if we could choose, yeah, I'd rather get paid for doing what I love and then also do what I love without getting paid for it, you know?
Yeah. You
Um,
have a lot of good insight, Sophie.
Thank you
And
so much.
yeah, and it's really interesting to actually listen about someone who, I mean, for me, from my point of view, who is experienced, who actually go through all of that, and having feedback like this, it's really important. As you said, you wish you could have had it when you started at first, and it's super important actually, because sometimes we actually don't figure out I'm personally in school now, and we focus a lot of on creativity and building your portfolio, but the business part, it's something that actually come later, and it is still one of the most important parts. So it's something that we need to build with our personal work, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm personally not good at business, but I guess I will need to figure it out, you know. So yeah, so it's good to have a feedback like yours.
I used to also say I'm not good at business. Marketing like gave me a stomachache. It made me feel like I'm betraying my artist identity when I thought about like becoming a phony sales pitch person, you know, when I first thought like, you know, how can I actually be proactive about getting to do the work that I want to do? Because sitting around and waiting for it to happen became something that was going to eventually burn me out. Like, it was so stressful that my creativity was suffering under it. And I think it's okay for college. I have a degree. I went to college for photography as well. It's okay for colleges to turn you into critically thinking, conceptualized artists that have a good backlog of historic, cultural, artistic references, and to train your artistic eye to look at your own work and understand your decision-making process within your own work, so that you can start understanding why you feel drawn and attracted to certain visuals, and then learning how to consciously recreate them. That makes you a good artist. And it's okay for colleges to put like priority on forming you as an artist, but that's why it's an artist degree, where I think colleges fall short is to at least acknowledge and plant the seed that you're gonna have to learn the other side of it as well if you don't want to get swallowed up by the market once you finish college with your degree. And when I got so lucky because I had to do a 6-month internship while I was still in college for photography. We got the choice between doing like a study abroad at a sister university or internship. And I knew that I needed to somehow get access to a person that was making a living off of what I was passionate about. So I landed an internship for a photographer that makes millions a year here in New York City. Had I not landed that internship and even started to wrap my mind around how this man was setting up his business, I would have been so lost after college. And then when I went back in the last year of college, I became a studio manager for a really famous photographer in Berlin that was also making millions a year. Like, these are the exceptions of artists that are like actually getting rich off of their art, but they were extremely smart businessmen. And it opened up my world to even understand, like, oh, like there is a whole structure that these people have built within their own business in order to support them as artists, like even just the accounting side of things like that. And I know that not every artist has the privilege of being able to dedicate that kind of time, 6 months unpaid full time. Like, who even these days, that's like non-feasible for most people. And also, like, a lot of marginalized people don't get granted access to these spaces at all. So I'm here to sort of be like, okay, I was lucky enough to get that, but who says that I need to keep that to myself? Like, I can just tell you guys about what that's like and what my biggest takeaways were. And even after that fact, you know, as I worked my way up the ladder as an assistant, and then I finally stopped assisting and I started doing my own commercial shoots, I still had no idea how to identify as an entrepreneur or feel empowered in my own business. All of it caused me a stomach ache, and I felt completely in over my head. And it also felt like it was draining me of the last little bit of precious energy I had in order to stay creative and be spontaneous and like have a moral compass and like a social messaging in the work that I was doing, because I was trying to make the world a better place with the art that I was creating. I had to figure it out in order to be able to keep doing it, you know, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do this much longer. And I think that's kind of heartbreaking because I see your guys' work. I think you guys are incredibly talented. You have so much potential. I look at your work and I know what the next, like in my head, I see the next couple of steps. Like, I know exactly what sort of brands I could see you starting to work with and have your first experiences in. Everything else you can learn. And also, you can also learn to feel like you're still yourself, you're still creative, you're still, I don't even know what the word, like, you still have your heart in it every step of the way. Like, yes, there's parts that are not as fun, like the accounting part or like the outreach part. I hated doing outreach or post-production or whatever. You're like part of the businesses that you're like, oh, cannot be bothered. But you can learn how to find a way to like incorporate it into your identity as a creative. And that's empowering, because when you learn how to do that, then it becomes a little bit more effortless. And then eventually, you know, you start reaping the fruits of your labor. You get to do the first couple of jobs. You get to have the first couple of experiences of working with like an art director or a producer for $1 billion brand that is just as interested in, you know, doing it right, and that values you, and that wants to bring you into the team and be a team player with you, and that is also for themselves looking to have a nice experience. I think we forget that as well, especially when it comes to working with commercial brands. We like, it dehumanizes it in our minds, because we're like, oh, it's a brand, like I'm gonna have to sell out. Brands are just people, and that's the fun part about it, you know, and that's a cool experience to make.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually true.
Yeah, I had to really train my brain to start believing that, because I felt extremely intimidated by the industry. Like, when the first couple of impressions that I was given by the industry was that it was extremely sexist, it was extremely objectifying to the talents on set, that you had to be ruthless, that for a while I felt like everybody was out to trick me or to yeah, like sort of feed off of my naivete or of my inexperience or of my young age. and it scared me, you know, or I would start working with a brand, and because I didn't know what I was doing yet, it felt like, oh my God, I'm selling out in every single possible way just to like get money. That felt icky to me, you know, that felt like that's not why I chose to become an artist. Like it sort of felt like it was counteracting why I chose to become an artist. But that's not true. Like you're definitely going to enter into rooms where you're going to have difficult conversations. Like my work is very like socially activism forward in a lot of ways, right? And I was creating these images purely from the own need in my heart to make imagery that is at a certain level of quality that I wish I would have seen when I was growing up. Like I had both my bedroom walls plastered in these like fashion and beauty images, and so many people that I should have seen on those walls were never included. That was hard for me in my own personal life. So then later, you know, I had a degree in photography and I had my foot in the door of this industry in order to start creating imagery that was actually at that same quality level of production, you know, but I was choosing the things that I wanted to see. And then all of a sudden, commercial brands started popping up being like, we want you to do that for us. And at first it didn't sit right with me because I felt like it felt wrong to take money in order to help a brand stay relevant or you know, buy their way into a social narrative that they hadn't been part of before. But it's okay for all of us to grow and learn. And there are so many amazing brands that are starting to diversify behind the camera, that are giving opportunities to female artists, that are genuinely understanding that if they broaden the voices that are being let into these very coveted rooms of productions, that the quality of the product grows exponentially. But you'll definitely also bump up against experiences where that knowledge isn't there yet. And it's frustrating. And in the beginning, it was infuriating. And I felt like I needed to fight these people because I felt like shaking them and being like, don't you see that this performative sort of moral, or this like tokenistic approach of changing the way you create visuals is still targeting the same social groups, and still targeting the same kind of people. It's still setting the same toxic beauty standards. It's still making people feel like shit about the way they look, like all of these things, until I realized that like I literally can't bully people into wanting to do the right thing. But what I can do is I can walk ahead doing what I do with love and with faith in that it's the right thing for me, and hope that people will want to come along on that journey because it inspires them. And guess what? It has. I get to work with brands that are so much in alignment with what I do in my own personal portfolio that it feels like that brand was created for me to work with. That's fucking amazing. And every artist can do that if you know how to sort of like set yourself up right and have your messaging out there in the right way so that the right people can find you. Like the industry is gigantic. We get taught that this like rivalry amongst artists is like the only way to survive. There's only so much space for people at the top. But what's really true is that like the need for content is exploding right now. So I'm like, why is there so many artists that are struggling to make a living, that don't even have the time to get in the studio and do what they actually want to do, or like, you know, have space to create their ideas? It's heartbreaking. That's fucking heartbreaking. And I don't think that's necessary, but artists aren't at the supply, like at the top of the supply chain of our society, which is really a shame because we can have a really big impact.
We can get there.
We are. I mean, luckily the industry is changing, and there's definitely space for everybody, even for the people that have already been the people that have been hired since the beginning of commercial photography. Like there's space for them too, but like it's just expanding. So I'd like to see you there.
Hopefully.
I know I will. I mean, your portfolio is fantastic. Thank you so much, Alexander, for showing us your website. Best of luck. Reach out to me if you want any consultation input, or even, you know, new visuals that you're thinking about commissioning. I'm always here and accessible to you. Thanks for everybody in the Instagram live as well. This was so much fun. Oh my goodness. Switch my, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also guys, a year of Rich Artist Fridays. Now we're entering into year 2. Follow me on Instagram to make suggestions of stuff that you guys want me to talk about. Check out the program that we're going to do in the summer starting in June. It's our 8-week sort of business pillar program, and we've had amazing experiences with it. You can read some of the reviews of people that have already done it on my website, and I will see you guys next week with a brand new topic. I love
Fantastic.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you guys so much. This is so much
Congratulations, Ben.
fun. Bye.